All right, shalom, shalom. It's your brother Aircraft from the GMS Chicago branch coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and Power by Shemel Shai. Before I start off, I'd like to start by giving all praise and glory due to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakadash. The balance of the positive great millstone will. And salutations all you brethren doing this work in true sincerity with charity. All right, so, I'm just basically hop into a lesson, touching on the Lord, puts us through afflictions, all right, to mold us, all right, into the men that he wants us to be, all right, because everything that we go through in this walk, in this faith, all right, in this truth, all right, it's not by, mistake, all right, it's not by coincidence, all right, the scripture says, men's goings are of the Lord, how can a man understand his own way, all right, so everything, all right, that happens in our lives, all right, ultimately, whether good or bad, it was orchestrated in the heavens, before it played out here in the physical realm, right? So when we go through things, all right, we gotta, learn from the experiences that we go through, man. Not just look at it as, ills, or hardship, even though, at the moment it might seem tough, right? But at the end, it works into a peaceable fruit, as one scripture roughly paraphrasing says, all right, but hey, we gotta look at all things from the spiritual point of view, and what can be taken out of the afflictions we go through, because a lesson can be learned from every loss, or so-called loss that we have. So with that, this is Hebrews 2:10. It says, for it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons to glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings, right? So just as Yahweh Shai, all right, he suffered, man. All right, he went, scripture says he was marred more than any man, all right? He was in the flesh, tempted at all points, just like we are, in these corruptible bodies, man, right? And he overcame, right? But it wasn't no easy task, right? Same way for us, man. All right, he was made perfect through suffering. Same way the elect, all right, is going to be made perfect, all right, through the sufferings that we go through, man. All right, that's why the Lord put us through things, to make us, more harder, like a harder shell, man. All right, to make us more patient. To make us more, more diligent, right? To give us more discernment, right? To, whatever it may be, to give us more faith, right? Any little flaw that the Lord sees in you, all right, he will put you through something, all right, to correct that flaw, right? And it might not feel good. 9 times out of 10, it won't feel good, man. All right, because, and what they say, diamonds is made under pressure, man, right? So to be, created into that man that Yahweh Shai wants us to be, he puts that fire on us, man, right? This is 1 Peter 1:7. It says that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, so though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. All right, so the trial of our faith, all right, is much more precious, all right, than gold, right? Because the Lord, he puts us through things, all right, and ultimately, if you're a part of the elect, you're gonna overcome, man, right? The Lord said he will not put on thee more than thou can bear, right? So it's not about, if you can overcome it or not, all right? It's more so about if you're a part of the elect, right? Because like I always say, no matter what the Lord puts us through, all right, if we're a part of the elect, you're going to find a way to get through it, all right? And guess what? You're going to learn from it, man, right? Sometimes bros say, we do things, all right, to put ourselves in certain situations, and that's very true, right? And in those situations, all right, when we fuck up and slip, all right, and the Lord chastises us, all right, and we overcome that situation, now we can look back, all right, and learn from that situation, whatever it may be. Like I named a plethora of things, maybe not be so hasty, maybe not be so, caught up in your desires, whatever it may be, man. All right. It gives you more experience on how to deal with these things in the future, right? More patience, whatever, man. Right. So it says that the trial of your faith being much more precious than fine gold that perisheth. It says, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto honor, honor and glory at the appearing of Yahushua Mashiach, right? So it's tried with fire, man. That fire represents affliction, right? And at the end of it all, when Yahushua returns, Lord will, we can, stand boldly, all right, before the grace and the throne of Yahushua, right? This is Job 13 and 15. It says, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. It says, but I will maintain mine always before him, right? So we know the story of Job, all right, how he was tried, and the Lord tried him, because he knew, all right, that Job was a man of integrity, man, right? Satan said, hey, if you take this from him, he'll curse you. If you touch his flesh, he'll curse you, right? But throughout all those things, right, which I got that precept, right, but throughout all those things, Job, he didn't forsake the Lord, all right? He didn't curse the Lord, right? He bared the indignation, right, of Yahweh Shemel Shah, man, right? He trusted in Yahweh Shemel Shah, because ultimately, even when we go through things, man, we have to understand that all things work, for the good of them, who love the Lord, man, right? We can't just, love the Lord when things is good. All right, the scripture says, roughly paraphrasing, I give you all this good, shall not I render you evil, So, the Lord is a just balance, man. All right, and he wants to see who's going to stick it out, in the thick and the thin, man, right? It says, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. It says, but I will maintain mine always before him. It's like it. I will maintain my own ways before him, right? This is Job chapter 2 and 10, straight to the point. It says, but he said unto her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall not we receive evil? It says, in all this did not Job sin with his lips, right? So the things we go through, man, all right, like I said, man, it's really to perfect us, man, all right, to better us, man, right? We have to look at it at a spiritual point, man, and not a carnal aspect, all right, and not, be as, a foolish woman or a man, right, and start to blame the Most High or, get mad, man, right, because we understand that coming to this truth, man, the scripture says, when thou departed from evil, you make yourself a prey. The Lord said, when thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? This was never meant to be easy, man, right? The scripture talks about right here, this is Matthew 20 and 22. It says, but Yahushua answered and said, actually, I'm going to start a little bit up in this one. Matthew 20 and 21. It says, and he said unto her, what wilt thou? She said unto him, grant that these my two sons may sit, one on thy right hand, and the other on thy left in thy kingdom. But Yahushua answered and said, ye know not what ye ask. Are ye able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? And they said unto him, we are able. And he said unto them, ye shall drink indeed of my cup, and be baptized with my baptism that I am baptized with, but to sit on my right hand and on my left, it is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Father, right? And so, as we know, Yahushua said, man, all right, ye shall indeed drink of my cup, right? And we, like I said earlier in the lesson, man, all right, Yahushua is more than any man. When we read about things Yahushua went through, all right, it says, the Lord was in so much grief, all right, and distress. As the scripture says, a man acquainted with grief, All right. He was in so much grief and stress that, he literally sweated blood, man. Right? So the script says a servant is not greater than his master, man. Right? So if Yahweh Shai suffered these things, us walking in his stead, and we're gonna suffer some things as well, man. Right? And we can't be offended when these things come upon us, man. Right? We have to bear, the indignation of the Lord, gird up our loins as men, right? And realize that everything that the Lord is putting us through is making us better, right? It's making us, stronger, right? And if we endure to the end, all right, we shall be saved, man. All right, we're gonna be able to, what scripture says, thou good and faithful servant, man. Come boldly before the throne, man. This is Hebrews 12:5. It says, and ye have, it's like Hebrews 12:6, straight to the point. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chastiseth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chastised not? Right? And so if you're not going through anything, man, then that should be a telltale sign, right? Because the scripture says, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of heaven, man. Like they say in the world, it's not one thing, it's another, man. And this truth, now you're going to constantly find, yourself being attacked, all right, by, Satan, man, right? Whether it's physically, spiritually, mentally, right? Whatever, right? But we have to, cleave unto Yahweh Shemel Shai and take it, as the scripture says right here, Sirach 2:4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient without a change to a lower state, right? So we have to take these things cheerfully, man, knowing that this is the condition of the battle, all right? And this is what comes with, the glory, man. All right, scripture says, before honor comes humility, man, right? So this is the rite of passage, all right, to get to the kingdom of heaven, man. All right, suffering, man. All right, being patient, which patience goes to the word suffering, man, right? And understand that this is the will of Yahweh Shemel Shai to make us those righteous judges, right? So, I was going to make a quick lesson on that. That was on my spirit. That I'm going to end off by giving all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Alliance to the Apostle Great Millstone Will. Insight to you, brother, doing this work, trust, sincerity, charity. Till next time, shalom, and above all.